Okay, so let's start this class. Last time we have so last time we discussed about, I think I am audible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's great. So last time we started with the introduction of Agile, what is Agile methodology and what is the concept of Agile and how a software is being developed into Agile methodology and why it is so important to shift to Agile rather than going on traditional waterfall model for software development, right? So that time we were discussing about core values of Agile, which I just wanted to remind again, review it again and revisit again. So there were four values of Agile. One is the interaction between the individuals and teams are more important over processes and tools. That we have already discussed that initially when we talk about waterfall model or any other software project management tools, there the processes, the procedures, the modules, how the project software has to be developed, that was quite more important. And the interaction between teams and individuals are very much lacking. So then this agile, the one of the most important value is about how frequently individuals and teams are interacting with each other. That is the process and that is the practice which agile software methodology and project management are being followed. Second thing is, second core value of agile is working software over comprehensive documentation. So rather than, because in this competitive environment, if we just go on writing documents and preparing the detailed analysis and details about the software, how it will look, what will be the uh, uh, features of that, what will be the functionality of that, and then we start designing it, that may be late in terms of business, in terms of customer interest, in terms of user interest for your website or for your application, because the market is very competitive. So better to go for the working software rather than going on comprehensive documentation. The third value is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Obviously, here we talk about the customer. The customer is a company's customer. Means we as a, suppose we assume that we are the person, we have a company and we are developing software for other clients. So here when we talk about the customer, it means we are our clients for whom we develop the software. So customer collaborations and contract negotiations, when we talk about these two, we just give more value to the collaboration with the customers so that whatever they need, whenever they need, what their expectations are, we are very much clear on it. And we work on that to get a good software, to deliver a better software, and we reach a customer or client satisfaction. And the last one is the responding to change over following a plan. This is about something, suppose we want to, we have delivered something as a feature in the software and the client, after looking at it, client realize that, okay, this can be done in a different way or this can have some more functionality. So that is the thing which as a software development team, in agile approach, we should respond to the change rather than sticking to a particular plan that, okay, this was what we have decided. So these are the core values of agile. Now with the values, we have some principles of agile, which is imperative and which need to be followed while we work on agile software development. First one is active user involvement is imperative. Active user involvement means whatever we are developing a software, we are developing a small portion of that software, we launch that and user is using it. Here the user is those people who are using that software, using that application for their benefit. For example, take an example of suppose I want to make a travel kind of application, travel kind of software where I want to book tickets. The tickets may be for air tickets, maybe for bus tickets or train tickets. Already there are many apps. So why a person or a user will come to your website and your application? Why he'll use that application? So that he can get something more into it. So depending on what kind of features a user is looking for that user involvement is imperative. So we look for those kind of applications. We look for the feedback from the user to improve our application, which can benefit for the business of the client and as well as for the software, the quality of the software which we are developing. Now, the next principle is the team must be empowered to make decisions. Now, this is something which is, we say that when we are developing something and we are waiting for some people to come and discuss the problems and then we take the decision, in that case, the delay will be there while we say that, okay, we are going to deliver something. But if you're not able to take decisions, then we cannot deliver it at time. So the team must be empowered to take decisions if there are some roadblocks, if there are some problems. Requirements evolve over the time scale is fixed. It means we say that when the project is being developed and that is under the process, at that time, because initially you may not be knowing what are the things you want in your software, what are the things you want in your application. So when you look at the application, when you execute the application into some form, then the client may realize that, okay, these are the things which can be added into it. These are also required. For example, like we say that we are, while we are booking making a software for booking tickets, we may have missed the idea of why, if in any case a user want to cancel his booking. Now, it may be that the client may not be knowing or may not be aware of that the client or the user can just cancel his or her booking. In that case, when he looks at it and when he after developing, after launching it, he may feel that okay, this kind of feature is also must be there, that the user can cancel it. So this kind of requirement can evolve. But for that, we cannot say that we can beg for more time, we borrow for more time. The time scale is fixed. So that is a principle that we have to have that, you can say a box of time, buffer time, which should be there while we develop the software in the Agile. Now, develop small incremental releases in iterate. That is what we always say that in Agile, what we do, we have small modules, we have small functions, we have small features, which we first develop it, release it. So incremental release means slowly we are adding up into the software. We have many softwares, we have many applications, we have many service applications, which right now we are able to see that they are being adding up. For example, take an example of Facebook. Initially, Facebook was just simply a application of social networking where friends connect with each other. Now, after that, they added with share button where you can share the information. So what is this? They are developing small features. They are adding into that big software and slowly the software is getting more and more features into it. So that is a key principle of Agile. And the focus on frequent delivery of products. You cannot wait for 1 year or 6 months to deliver a product, because it may be that after 6 months when you are delivering a product, it may lose the scope, it may lose the interest of the user. So better to deliver it in a frequent way, and that way your app is into uh, in a agile way. It is being developed. This is the key principle of Agile. Now we'll come to the project management methodology. When we say that this is Agile approach, I've already told you that Agile is an approach. It's a mindset. It's not something which is you say that there are a set of rules and you have to follow it. It's a mindset, it's a practice which need to be followed while we do the project development. So before going into detail about the project management, first of all, let us know about what is management methodology and how many different types of are there and how we shift to agile. Why, what is the need of shifting to the agile for developing our project? So when we talk about project management methodology, what is it? It's nothing but a different way to approach the project, different way to handle the project, how we are going to solve it. Now, this project management methodology can help project team to work better because there is a guideline, there is a process, there is a step-by-step process which a team need to follow, and they have a guideline proper that okay, this is the process to be followed, and that way the project will be on the completion path. So there are many different project management methodology, and each one has having unique process of workflow. We'll look for few and then we'll see what are the top management project management methodologies are. So first of all, we all know that we already discussed about it. This is the waterfall project management methodology. So what is waterfall model? Model, we all know that there are 5 steps of software development or any project development. We have requirement analysis, then we have design, then we have coding, then we have testing, then we have implementation and testing, and then maintenance. Now in waterfall model, each and every step is to be followed in a sequence. So waterfall model is simplest of all, and it completes one task before going to the next one. It means before completing the requirement, you cannot go to the design. But once you go to the design, you cannot go back to the requirement analysis. So this is the feature of this, that the complete one task before going to the next one, or before the next one begins. There is a connected sequence of items which add up the overall deliverables. Means you have a connected sequence. First requirement, then you go to design, then you go to coding. So this is a connection of sequence and which need to be followed. And at the end, you have a product which you deliver to the client. So what kind of projects can be done with waterfall model? You can take example of making a laptop or making a computer system because you have or building a computer, you can say, because you have a set of a sequence which you need to follow when you say that okay, if I make a computer, I have to assemble this way. I have to first assemble the SMPs. I have to make the motherboard. Then I have to put the CPU in it. Then I have to have input devices, output devices, drivers. Then I have software uploading. So these are the sequence which is to be done while we do the building a computers. In that case, this kind of project can be done very easily with waterfall model, and we can reiterate it. Means if I want to again make a computer, the same sequence can be used to make it. So it can be easily replicated in future. Now, this power of this project management is that there is a pre-planned step, but any change in client need or priorities will disturb the series of tasks. So anywhere in time, suppose while after coding, when you are testing, client say that, okay, this is a need and I want to add some of the features, I want to add some of the more functionality into this program or this software. In that case, in waterfall model, it is impossible to do because you have a series of tasks and you have performed in that sequence only. So this is one of the project management methodology, waterfall model. Another method is another management methodology is critical path method. Again, this is one of the very popular method which is being known as CPM. You must have heard. I don't know about your course. Have you heard about it? Not, but there is some one of the scheduling criteria when we talk about PERT and CPM. So CPM is very important and it works in manufacturing industry as well. It works in computers while making a software projects as well. So this is the critical path method where what we say it is being developed in the 1950s, where we say that there are some tasks which can be initiated and there are some tasks which can't be initiated before we finish the previous one. So what happens that we have to identify as a project software development or the project team. The team has to identify which are the portion, which are the tasks which can be performed independently and which are the tasks which need to have some prerequisite, some pre-task has to be finished before we start this task. So what happens is the string of these dependent tasks together form a start to finish. You plot your critical path. Okay. So these are the tasks. Now from this task, we need to perform before going to start with this task A, we have to perform a task B and then only the task A can start. So that way you plot a critical path. When you identify and focus the critical path, then the project managers can prioritize and allocate resources to get the most important work done. Because now they have a priority list. Okay, these are the tasks which has to be done first, and these are the tasks which can be delayed because that has to be done after the first task will be finished. So they can prioritize what are the resources and how the resources can be allocated. Now these resources can be anything, maybe a system, maybe a software, maybe a person who is writing a code. So any resource, but depending on the requirement, depending on the path of the critical assignments and critical tasks, those things can be prioritized. Now, they can schedule the lower priority task in later on so that the time can be saved. This way, if there is a change in project schedule, team work process can be optimized without delaying the result. So any project schedule is being changed, if there is a change into it, the team process can be optimized. So this was one of another project management methodology which are being popularly used. Another one is critical change project management. Again, this is a part of critical project management. It's an upgradation of that. We can think like this. Now, what is added into it? It is added that what are the resources needed when we are adding some task into our sequence of critical path. Then what are the resources which are needed to complete the task? If we add that into scheduling as well, then we say this is critical change project management. So it focuses on resources needed to complete tasks by adding resource availability to the critical path. It also builds time buffer around these tasks in the project schedule, ensuring the project meets its deadline. Is it clear? Is it clear to all of you? Anyone can tell me? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So now coming to Agile project management. So why Agile project management? So Agile project management is growing popularity. Why it is growing popularity? Because of high competitive business environment. Now, high competitive business environment means take example of you or me booking a hotel for ourselves. Now, there are many apps which are available when you enter on Google, you write uh, booking for hotels. So there will be many websites which are being opened and you can select on any one of these to get what are the things that is being there. Now, there may be something in your mind that, okay, what I want. whether I want a hotel near my in the center of the city, or what kind of facilities are available. If the website can tell me those things, I will prefer to take a decision on it. Suppose you go on the website and look for the hotels, that's all. You know what are the ratings, 3 star, 4 star, that you wanted to look. But suppose with that, a website is giving you some pictures, you can, as a user, you may be more interested into that website. But suppose another website is giving more features, like this is the price, this is the discount, and this is the depending on the area, how far it is from airport, how far it is from um, railway station, and so on. So many things. So depending on those kind of information, what a user gets, user choose to uh, transact with that particular application. Otherwise, what happens sometime they shift to Google and look for hotels near me, and then they look because the Google is again providing those kind of things. So business environment is competitive. So on anyone who is working on those things in agile approach, they know that the project is to be in such a way that they grab the attention of user and they get more on business. And the same thing is about increased innovation means you have to be innovative. You have to be thinking in a think way. You have to be in a continuous process of getting something new, giving something new to the customer. So these are the things which is there in the market. And with all these things, the agile project management is a compulsion, or you can say it's a bounding for software development team to also to opt for. Now, what happens when we have such kind of thing? Then there is another thing which is called increased work pressure. Now we have, as a knowledge worker, our business tools will improve our capabilities and we are more productive. In that case, even our expectation for work has all raised, and obviously the business expectations is also being raised. And increase consumers' expectations. Again, this is what we talk about, the user expectation. So a consumer today, we want or expect innovative products faster, cheaper, and with better quality than those we were seen in the past. That is called consumer expectation. So these are the factors by which we can say that we have to opt for agile methodology for project development. These are the on the basis of agile principle, we can say that the focus on client value, aligned projects means whatever the client they want to get the software developed, the software development team has to be aligned with their interest, the client value interest, product and team vision to deliver better product quality faster and cheaper. Means the product which has to be delivered that need to be faster, but as well as the same time it should be cost effective. Now the product has to be delivered in small batches, means create a flow of value to clients by chunking features delivery into small increments, which already we have discussed. So these are things which is repetitive here, but we need to know why agile is more important than waterfall or any other project methodology, management methodology. Now, the another point is that these teams of agile, where the software is being developed in agile approach, the teams are small, but they are integrated. So intense collaboration via face-to-face communication. Now, initially, when we talk about traditional way of developing a software, the communication is on either on phone or on mail or on message. So when we talk on mail or communicate on mail or message, there are many loopholes of it. There are many drawbacks of it, which I'll be later covering into that when we talk about the communication of project management. So in Agile, we talk about more emphasis on face-to-face communication. We more emphasis on communication and diversified role. Diversified role means anyone in the team can't say that I am not a tester, I am not a debugger, I am not a code writer. So everyone need to know all the work and they can be able to work on each and every aspect of the project management. The team should be self-organizing and self-disciplined. Means there is no need to, there is no one to monitor that whether team is working or not, whether the team is motivated or not, whether the team is disciplined or not. So everyone has to be in the team and they have to work in a, you can say they are into same pace for the same interest. Now the small continuous improvements, team reflect, learn and adapt to change. It means depending on the requirement, the team adapt the requirement, team learn, and team change according to the requirement of the client. They work according to the agile. Itself means that we are active, we are changing. So everyone has to reflect that kind of approach that whenever uh, there is a need to change, there is a need to learn something new, they have to do that. Delivering client value with agile project management, obviously, client need to get the value of what they are investing, the right product at the right time for the right price. This is what is the motto for the client. Higher quality design to fit products with flexibility to change. Obviously, we talk about that any product which are being designed, so we need to have in such a way that the product or the feature which we have added or the uh, functionality which we have added. So there should be some flexibility to change those kind of things. Increase throughput through iterative and incremental project and product chunks. Increase throughput means it's a kind of output, how you are going to give. So in that case, we say that since we are giving deliverables in terms of small chunks, we say that a client gets a feeling that its project is in running form, and you are adding up one or more features every second week or third week. So that way it is, we say that this is an incremental approach of delivering the product. Reduce waste, lean, efficient process with lower cost and high productivity. Reduce waste, lean means if you have something you have done, you have in the between, you feel that this of the feature, this is the feature which may be out of scope for some time or maybe out of scope after some time. You say that, okay, we don't want to utilize this. You can communicate within the team and you can decide, okay, this is not the thing which we should invest upon. We should leave it and we should go for next activity. In that case, you can have higher productivity and obviously on the lower cost. So what exactly is being done into this? We release planning that how the project is to be done, what is the process and how the steps we are going to follow. In that case, we can say we plan for sprint. Now, this is a new word for this subject, and for me, for you also, that what is sprint? You can say that sprint is it's a time box period, you can say, where we say that a kind set of work, you can say that this kind of work can be done into this time box period. So we say this is a sprint. Sprint is nothing but you can say a time span where in this particular sprint we say that this kind of work can be done. For example, I say that for user registration process can be done into 2 sprints, and a sprint can be of 1 day. So I say the user registration, the whole process of user registration can be done into half sprint. So half day can be actually sufficient to make that registration code for user. So that is a sprint planning, how sprints are being planned. Then daily scrum and stand up. What happens in Agile? We every day there is a meeting because the communication is the integral part of Agile. So we say that there are different way to handle it, and that one of the approach is called Scrum, or rather than we say in easier way, we can say that is stand up. What happens when we sit on a meeting chair, when we talk or do the meeting while we are sitting on the tables? Sometimes we divert the subject and we talk something else. The concept of stand up meeting is that you are just standing and you are talking with each other, and in a very small duration of time, you discuss the problem and you just disperse from there. You discuss the problem, solve it, and you disperse. So, this kind of daily stand up meeting are being preferred into Agile. Fixed length sprints, it means the length of sprint, the length of time, or the kind of time amount is fixed. The sprints are being reviewed. If we have discussed some sprint that this is the time amount in which this kind of work will be done. Now, the review is being done whether that work is being done into that particular sprint or not. So if it is done, it's okay. If it is not done, then we have to retrospect it, that what is the thing, why it is not being done, and then we again do it for the next sprint. We just take that work into the next sprint. Then we identify top priority items and deliver them rapidly using small batches of small integrated teams and with continuous improvement. So just look at this diagram where initially we have start our initial project, then we define the requirement, then we have development number 1, development 2, number 2, and same way we have n number of developments, they are into batches. Then we release it. After releasing, it can be accepted by the client or it can be rejected by the client. If it is accepted by the client, it is yes, we deploy to the customer. If it is no, then implement the changes, adjust track, reprioritize the sprint, and then next iteration into development. This way, your agile project is being working. So how does it work? You first make a list. It means you meet the client for whom you are going to develop the software. Make a list of features they would like to see in their software. So the first important thing is you meet the client and get the list of features. Then you size things up. You estimate your stories relatively to each other and guess about time to develop and deploy each story. Now, what is your story? We talked about user story in last class. User story means we have different on the perspective of user, not as a perspective of client or as a perspective of software developer. It's a perspective of user who are going to use it. For example, I say that if I cancel my ticket, I should get all my refund. So this is a particular user story. Now, user story is having a different way to write it, which we are going to study when we are going to study in detail about the user story. I just gave an example that what kind of user story can be there. Suppose I am a vice president of a company and I want a sales report every day. So as a user, I can say that I want to have daily sales report on my laptop, depending on so that I can identify that how much sales is being done into different areas of the country. So this is my story. Depending on this story, now the developer has to find out how this work can be broken into different items and it can be displayed or given to the vice president. So what can be done? You can have authentication in a process. You can have fetching data from the database. You can put the report in form of Excel sheet, and then you can mail it to the vice president on his in official mail ID. So these are the kind of work which need to be done to fulfill that a particular user story. So what you have to do, you have to estimate the stories relatively to each other, how these stories are related to each other, which story can be done before another story. So relativity means in the every way that how the stories are being related, and then you have to find out or guess how much time you need to develop it and deploy it. And it is to be done for each and every story. And then you set some priorities. In this priority, you ask the client which feature he wants first. What are the list of items which a client should know or a client want to have in his application first, and then you have to with discussion with the client you can find out, okay, these are the stories he want first in his application, so you prioritize and develop them first, and then the least important you can develop it last. Then you start executing. Once you once you set some priorities, ask for the user stories, then you start executing it with that. So when you start executing, obviously you want to deliver some values to the client. So you start from top, work way to the bottom. You build it, iterate it, and getting feedback from your customer as you go. You update your plan as you go. You and your customer start delivering. One or two things is going to happen. When you start delivering, what will happen after certain time? You will find out either you are going very fast, means you are delivering the sprint very fast, or you have too much to do and not enough time. These are the two possibilities. So at these two choices, what is to be done? If you are going too fast, so you have to either spread, maximize, or you can increase the scope. Or if you feel that you have too much to do and the time is less, you can cut the scope, push out the dates and ask for more money. This is what you can do with that. So this is about how the agile methodology work. And now the question is here, what we have just read about and what about this? Let me say that we make a list. Okay. Now, right now we'll just work as a role model, or we'll just play a role model for making a software. Now, suppose as you run a company and you wanted to generate revenue for yourself. So you look for the client. Now, a client who is looking for some company to get his software developed or to get his application developed, he is looking for some company, but he is not knowing it. So maybe to somehow in some way you both meet with each other. Then how you're going to start it? Uh, how you're going to work with that client to get that project into your pocket. So what is to be done? So that's what we say that in agile, first of all, and rather than leave aside the agile, but if you want to have a project, you have to first communicate with the client and you have to understand what is his requirement, right? So the communication is a vital part of getting any project into your pocket for your business. So we'll look for this and see how a communication can help you to get a application development into your pocket. Let me show you. One. Any question? If you have any question, just raise your hand, or if it is clear, then we can go for the next. approach. So that's what we are discussing about, that if you go to some client and you want to develop a software for them, so what exactly will be your first criteria? Anyone can tell me. What will be your first communication with your client?
About your project.
Uh-huh. Say it again.
Requirement.
Requirement. It means you are going to talk to your client and you want to understand what his requirement is, right? Now, how you are going to find, how you are going to open it, that what are the requirement? It means, first of all, you need to understand while you are talking with him, you need to understand what exactly is in there in his mind, and then you can look for a, a client may not be knowing about the agile. Yes, he may not be knowing about what kind of approach you are going to use for the software development, but he may be knowing that what exactly he wants, right? So, agile communication, when we talk about communicating in agile project management, obviously it's very different from traditional way of developing a project. So here the good communication is a very necessary part. Okay. So agile principles set different tones for agile projects, emphasizes on simplicity, directness, and face-to-face conversation. Now, simplicity simply mean that if you are talking to your client, then you cannot use hi-fi and more technical words, because in that case the client may not be very technical person. But right now I cannot say, we cannot say, and we cannot expect anyone to not having a technical related jargon with them. But then also talking to a person and getting his requirement to know what exactly, because if you know the requirement, then you can make a good software. If you don't know the requirement, you cannot make a good software. So being simple into communicating, being direct into communicating, and obviously rather than talking on phone or talking on mail or message, the face-to-face communication is more important. So there are 5 recommendations to improve agile team communication and build trust. Because when we talk about everything, like we say that uh, agile team is should able to make the decision. Agile team should work in a pace. They all team members should be on a page. There should not be any conflict. In that case, we need to have that kind of communication and that kind of trust within the team so that everything goes into a proper way. So, what are the 5 recommendations for agile communication? First of all, that the goals of the project is very much clear at the beginning when we start the project. The roles of team members should be very much clear. There should be a definition of roles. Who is the product owner? Who is the project manager? Who is the you can say the who is writing the user stories? So the goals and responsibilities are very much should be clear at the beginning of the project. Now we should encourage questions. That is again the recommendation for the agile communication, that the team members should be encouraged to ask questions. The client should be encouraged to ask questions, because those questions can give a good quality into the software. Make mistakes. Sometimes what happens, I don't know about you people whether you have done or not, but generally when we talk about the testing of a software, we don't only test on correct answers, correct input. We test on wrong inputs as well. What happens? How your software is acting, how your software is behaving when we write a wrong input. Like suppose we talk about mail IDs. So we say that in mail ID at the rate and dot should be there. Now, when we test the program for mail IDs, we say that we write at the rate and dot and we write anything and it's going to accept it. But if we try to check it, what if we don't write at the rate, or what if I don't write dot in place of dot com dot edu? So that kind of thing is happening when we say that we are going to have wrong things to do the right thing. Sometimes the making a mistake intentionally or making a mistakes unintentionally also make a project having more value and more worth, because then you can open up some more requirements, you can open up some more scope for the project. Retrospective approach should be there. Now, intro and retro both we have discussed here. Intro means you have to introspect yourself, that what is your potential, what you can do, and how you can work with the team. And retrospective means that in Agile, if something is to be done and the goal is set for the last week or last scrum, last sprint, why it is not being done, what are the problem into it, means retrospective means we are looking or we are inspecting about the past operations and we are working on, depending on the past experience, we are taking the remedy value for the future. And then we talk about feedback. Feedback about whatever the delivery we are giving for the client. We first take the feedback, like we talk about whether that client is going to accept it at all. If it is accepting, then you are going to deliver it. So that is called feedback. So when we talk about communication, there are different phases of communication or different communication into different phase of project. Now, what are the different phase of project? First of all, when we say that the project not even started, you have just conceptualized. You are not even conceptualized. You are in a process of conceptualizing it. So this is the one of the phase where you want to communicate. Here the communication is more with the client side, where you are working with the client and you are trying to conceptualize what are the requirement of the customer and how you are going to solve it. So communication is one kind of communication is when you are going to actually starting the project, before starting the project. Second communication is when your project actually starts, you are working on the project. And third is when the project is ongoing. It means your project is on the go and you are started giving the prints. You are started giving some deliverables to the client. So these are different phases where the communication is being done. So let's just discuss about the first phase where we communicate, that is before the project starts. So that's what I was discussing with you, that if you go to the client to sell your project, sell a new project to the client, how you are going to do that? So what will be the most important here is how well you are going to communicate with the client. How well you are going to understand the need of the client. How you are going to, and you want to see what they are trying to achieve, whether they are want to make a simple project of information sharing, whether they want to work with they want to develop a software where they have a particular competitor where they want to remodel that. For example, I told you yesterday that we have one example can be that you want to develop a software just like WhatsApp, and you want to run it parallelly and you want to compete WhatsApp for this. So depending on see how what is their need, what they want, and what they are trying to achieve, where they want to go, and how big is the effort and how much time or effort it will take to make that dream of the client true for them. So these are things which needs to be understand when you talk about the when we are talking to the client. Now this quality communication will allow us to know and understand what where the client is now, what exactly is having, what kind of uh, thinking a client is going on, what they want at the end of the project, when do they want to get there. This is the most important, when they do want to go there, because everyone having different ideas. But how many clients are in a hurry to get that thing done fast. If someone says that, okay, after 1 year I'll be working on it, that client may not be serious on it. Or if your client is saying that, okay, I want everything done in 1 year, and then you give it and I'll deploy in the market, that may not be a wise decision. So depending on what the client want and how, when do they want to get there, that is the thing which we need to understand when we start, when we communicate with the client before the project started. Now, what we have to make sure is here that we have to identify all features which will be there in that particular software. The high level requirements in case of in terms of software, in terms of professionals, in terms of resources, and then we need to know what are the most important and most urgent of these requirements to the client. What are the features he feels that no, this should be the first into it? For example, suppose there are many applications now working on this. We have Ola, we have Uber. They all are working on hiring taxis, right? Suppose I want to make initial there was only one that is called Wings. And Wings, looking at the popularity of Wings, Ola and Uber also came into picture. But look at their, if you have used both of them, look at their interfaces. Both of them are having different interfaces. Uber don't work on the security. Ola work on security. You have to have one-time password to before you board the car or taxi. So depending on different features, the client have functionality and user are using. I think Ola is being most popular than the Uber because Ola is more user friendly to use. So depends what user want and what kind of feature user want in first place. So those are the things which while you're communicating before the project start, you need to understand all these things. So if you communicate in the right is if the communication is right, the client will have picture of what the product will look like, and even you can see the picture too. Even as we discuss with them, even we can know that what are the things and how this software will look alike. But if the communication is not done correctly, in that case, we can have unclear scope, unclear amount of efforts are needed to clear it or to develop it, and in at the end the client may not be happy or may not be satisfied what we develop. So we need to take care while we are into this phase of communication. We need to clearly look at the requirement of the client, clearly look at the important things which client want, and how much time and how much efforts a client needs to put into it, and how much, rather in terms of money, how much he wants to, how much is in hurry, rather than I should say, to make his dream come true. That is the most important thing we need to understand as a software developer, agile team, right? So this is all about communication in first phase. Next class we'll study about different phases. The rest two phases. One is when we start the project, and the third phase is actually when the project is going on. So that we'll study tomorrow. Any questions right now? Any question?
No,
Yeah?
ma'am.
No? So are you all able to understand it? Are you getting the voice clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, tomorrow we are going to have this communication topic finished and planning. These two I'm planning to finish tomorrow. Okay. See, I think first two units of your agile is more on theoretical. And then you have more on, we'll work on more examples, but let's see how it works. Okay. So it's, how do you find? It's a theoretical paper?
I thought more of it is practical paper. I thought.
No, it's not a practical paper right now because you are into, right now you are in third sem and it's a part of software engineering. But yes, whatever you are going to do in your internal projects, you can apply, but that will be difficult for right now to apply because you are going to work as an individual into the project. So it will be difficult for you to apply agile methodology into it. But it's when we talk about Scrum, when we talk about Kanban, then we can have something which comes into it. There will be some, we talk about examples of user stories, we talk about example of sprint, we talk about example of responses. Then you can have few examples, you have test cases, those things will come there. But initially it will be more on theoretical part. Okay? Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So that's all for the day. Chalo, bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.